Hola a todos, bienvenidos al Danny Show. I'm your host, Daniel Cody, and this is where I give commentary on all things Lucha Libre. As you can see by the special intro, I thought I'd do something a little more fun to introduce the show as we talk about last night's amazing pay per view of Backlash from Puerto Rico, San Juan. And before I get started, let me just say that drone that they did again that night was awesome. Now, with that being said, let's talk about the first match of the night, which was awesome. First match of the night, we have Io Sky versus Bianca Belair for the Raw Women's Championship. I miss Samantha already as the announcer. She will be announcing Raw. But this match was awesome. First of all, I did not expect fans to gravitate towards Io the way they did last night. But boy, were they electric, and there was a small ovation for Bianca, but when Io came out, everyone went crazy, and it was awesome. The crowd was very electric. Of course, we started off, we saw Bianca go for the 10 punches, which WWE did in Spanish, but notice something. Because one of Bianca's arms was targeted during the match, she could hoist Io Sky with one arm. She didn't do that to show off. She did that because she was in pain. And you can see that show because as she dropped Io down, Io had a very bad landing, and gracefully, it would be graceful that she didn't injure herself. Nonetheless, she kept fighting, and obviously, it would not be a great Io match unless we saw a moonsault on the outside. We were going to see a perfect moonsault from the top rope to the ring, but due to the distraction of Michael Cole's obsessed stalker Bailey disrupting the whole match and the birthday girl yesterday, Dakota Kai, the moonsault was missed, which gave time for Bianca to do the KOD for the win and win the match. Now, with Io Sky being the favorite that night, something is telling me that she's going to get over with the crowd, and eventually damage control could break up, which means it'll be two-thirds, whereas Io will be going solo because she is, no pun intended to the other wrestler, because she has become such a great favorite. Second match of the evening, we have Omos versus one of my all-time favorites of this generation, Seth freaking Rollins. Let me tell you, the entrance, there is nothing like Seth Rollins. Nothing like him. No one like him right now. He is one of the best. A lot of people favor him to be the next future world heavyweight champion, which would be great because if you think about it, the if that happens, it will be Shield versus Shield at Survivor Series because unless Survivor Series does War Games again, it's going to be the regular brand versus brand. And imagine Roman Reigns in the main event of SummerSlam, Roman Reigns as the Universal Champion and Seth Rollins as the World Heavyweight Champion, brand champion, Raw champion versus SmackDown champion at Survivor Series. That would be awesome to watch. Of course, it would be even more awesome if we could guarantee no interferences. But nonetheless, let's talk about this match. And in my honest opinion, first of all, Seth Rollins standing in the spotlight during the end of his entrance was awesome until it was broken up by Omos, who dominated most of that match. And to be honest with you, I thought this one was Omos because when you look at the size difference and you look at how big, how tall, and huge Omos is versus Seth Rollins being the size of Triple H, I truly, honestly thought that this was going to be in the favor of Seth Rollins. I mean, we did see Seth overcome a choke slam, and it took not one, not two, but a third and super curve stomp to put Omos down for the 3 count. And I thought when Seth Rollins came in, I was like, let's enjoy this, because looking at on paper, I thought Omos could kill the guy. But thankfully, Seth Rollins, like David and Goliath, overcame the giant with, and it didn't take 5 smooth stones, but it did take 3 curve stomps to get the job done. A third one was a super one. But nonetheless, Seth Rollins won a match that was expected to lose and is considered a happy upset, if you know what I mean. Speaking of upsets, the next match, the triple threat match, we have Austin Theory versus Bronson Reed versus Lashley. Austin and Lashley will be seen on SmackDown, so I'm going to enjoy reviewing them. And what's even more exciting is knowing that at on SmackDown, with Bobby Lashley being on SmackDown, he talked to Cole, and all Lashley could say was 2 simple words: Roman Reigns. That alone got me excited. Think about, I would love to see those two clash at a pay per view sometime before Survivor Series. And I would also love to see Roman as champion perform at Night of Champions, because he is champion. So it would make the night extra interesting to have the tribal chief performing in Jeddah, Saudi Arabia, later on this month. But nonetheless, let's get on to this triple threat match. We have um, Lashley doing his. We saw Bianca do a one-hander earlier that night. We saw Lashley do one as well, and we saw Lashley do his special spine buster onto Bronson and Austin Theory. We even saw, I don't know what you call that move, but Bronson Reed did a move where he launched himself off the second rope and flew on to Lashley. I don't know what that move is called, but the fact that he did that, wow. Another thing that was amazing is that for someone of Bronson's size to be able to do a moonsault like that, the only person I know with that type of weight on them that could do a moonsault like that was Vader himself. However, unfortunately for Bronson, it missed in time for him to be speared by Lashley, but Austin Theory took advantage of it and went for the 1, 2, 3 to win the match, pinning Reed. Now, I don't think this between Lashley and Theory is over, because both men, Austin Theory, WWE's Avenger, as I'll dub him since he likes Avengers, obviously. WWE's Avenger Austin Theory will be on SmackDown with Lashley, so I think this is just the beginning. Next on this list, Rhea versus Zelina Vega. First of all, the love that Zelina received from the crowd was awesome. Family members were there. The entrance was there. The way she held the flag up like that, completely awesome. And you can see it was a very emotional moment for her, just like it was for Bianca at WrestleMania 37, I believe, which I also had the pleasure of reviewing. That was my first year starting. Of course, it despite it being emotional, we also saw her use the slipper, which most people are very familiar. Some people in that culture are very familiar with. Me, I was familiar with when I was little. I was familiar with the ruler. By elementary school, I was familiar with a belt, but I didn't get a lot of spankings coming up. But I got enough to stay out of trouble. But in any event, I'm not familiar with the slipper, but I am familiar with my bottom stinging. And Zelina threw a slipper. That was fun. And they played a little Tom and Jerry, but Rhea controlled most of the match. And in my personal opinion, after Rhea controlled the match, mocked Eddie Guerrero, used the DX gesture. First off, let me just say it is very ironic that Rhea Ripley usually wears black, but tonight, just like Priest, they wore all white. It's almost biblical to Lucifer being the angel of light, if you know what I mean. It almost seems biblical because they are supposed to be a dark, unholy union is the judgment day, which was started by Edge, by the way. But tonight they came out in bright, so it reminded me of the biblical quote. However, despite Zelina giving only a short effort, I think the match could have been a little bit better. I mean, the match was a little too quick, in my personal opinion. And I don't think we got to see like EO Sky. There, Zelina is pretty good as far as high flying and other moves is concerned. And I don't think we got a chance to see a lot of that last night because the match was so quick. And of course, Rhea Ripley just finished it and went for that strange pinfall that she loves to go on everyone. However, despite it being a very short match, the fans gave Zelina a well deserved ovation. And I hope we see more of a push from Vega. I really hope one day we can see her contend for championships even more. Plus, she's a former Queen of the Ring and SmackDown Women's Tag Champion, so it's not the end. But I still think we could have saw a better performance and just a more epic match for Zelina. Just my honest opinion. Thought it could have been more. But we will see more in the future. I believe that. Next Judgment Day member is Priest versus Bad Bunny. And like I said, both of the guys from the Dark Union are wearing white, Angel of Light, biblical. Nonetheless, the fans were great. They sung along to Bad Bunny's entrance, and the match was great. He came with a grocery cart of weapons like it was the hardcore match of the WWF days. Attitude, I'm speaking of. Now, we saw, like Rhea earlier, Damian Priest did the DX chop. First of all, we saw a vertical suplex like move by Bad Bunny. Lots of great strength to hoist Damian Priest like that. But we also have to talk about one of the OMG moments was when Damian Priest put Bad Bunny through a table on the outside with the crowd. Now, even though Bobby Lashley and Big E predicted and were correct that the main event would not go outside the ring, the first main event did. And honestly, I thought this was going to end the show, but it didn't. But it was one of the double main events. We saw that. It was only a matter of time before we saw Judgment Day make an appearance after Bad Bunny had targeted, great technical move, by the way, targeted Priest's left leg, I believe. And after that happened, and by the way, when Priest was in the figure four leg lock and sat up to escape the 3 count, it really reminded me of Ric Flair versus The Undertaker at WrestleMania 18, when Ric Flair had Undertaker in the figure four, but The Undertaker sat up and went for the choke slam. Of course, in this scenario, Bad Bunny escaped that. We saw a South of Heaven choke slam in the beginning, but that wasn't going to stop it. But nonetheless, it was only a matter of time before the Judgment Day showed up. That would be Finn Balor and Simp19 Dominic Mysterio. Then we will see Rey Mysterio show up. The crowd went crazy as Carlito showed up. And of course, they say simps aren't cool, which is why Simp19 got spat on, because we all know that Carlito spits on people who are not cool. And with the pandemic slowing down, it is a perfect time to blow apples on people, because when he returned in 2021, he wasn't allowed to do that because of the pandemic. Now that the pandemic has slowed down, he can do that. And boy, did the uncool Simp19 get the apple. And then we saw Savio Vega, who got a huge pop earlier in the night backstage. Excuse me. He got a great pop backstage, showed up to fight with the LWO. Inside the ring, we saw, what's this move called? We saw chair shots, chain shots, but the move that is known as the Bunny Destroyer, or as Corey called it, the Puerto Rico Destroyer, won the match, and the LWO celebrated with priests and fans. And that was the first main event. Going forward to the Bloodline versus Kevin Owens, Riddle, and Sami Zayn. Now, there was a lot of tension between the Bloodline, and you saw that in the match, because as good as the match was, we saw Sami Zayn isolated. We saw Kevin Owens do a swanton, but then we saw some tension rise between Jay and Solo Sikoa, as was tagged in an intense manner, but then Solo got tagged in by Jay in a very intense manner, which set up Sammy to do the haluva kick, which Solo broke up. Solo was about to spike Jay, but thought better of it and gave the spike to, I believe, was it Riddle? But yeah, he chose Riddle to get the spike. And luckily for the Bloodline, they won this one. Now, I'm going to miss having Sammy and Kevin full time, but they are champions, which means they can be on both brands. What this means is Kevin Owens and Sammy will be on both brands, and the Bloodline, however, will stay on SmackDown. And thankfully, for their sake, they won, because if not, there would be trouble in paradise come Friday night SmackDown. Let's get into this main event. Another main event where the hero was not expected to win, but he did. We have Brock Lesnar versus Cody Rhodes. Cody went to Suplex City with 8 suplexes. We saw Cody Rhodes go for a cutter that looked like the RKO, a launched disaster kick, and a launched cutter. Then we saw 2 crossroads and a kick out. Cody Rhodes came back from an F5. That wasn't enough to keep him down. And as Brock Lesnar did the Kimura, Cody Rhodes counter into a roll up and escape with the victory. Another upset, but a much needed victory for Cody Rhodes. However, despite the fact that Cody was supported by the crowd and was the favorite for the most part, after the match, Brock Lesnar actually received an ovation despite being the heel. So that was cool. And I did not expect Brock Lesnar to bleed. Nonetheless, that main event was a great match. It was greater than I expected, to be honest. And I'll be definitely putting this on one of my favorites as far as Cody Rhodes is concerned. But for now, that's all the time I have for you today. If you enjoyed this review, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Share with your friends. And let me know your thoughts on Backlash as well as this review. But for now, I'm your host, Daniel Cody, and I will see you guys with another review next time on All Things Wrestling. And happy birthday to Kevin Owens, and rest well to the late, great Owen Hart. See you next time, folks.